right. Okay. Let's make sure everything's good. Check. All right. Hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm Bigger Gayer Magic, or BGM, and tonight on Live Deck Building, we're going to be taking a look at Fellothar the Steadfast. This is a 4-drop in Abzan colors, and it's the box commander for the Abzan Precon coming out in Dragonstorm Tarkir next month. This is a 4-mana 0/5 that cares about thick butts, and that's about it. Each creature you control assigns combat damage with its toughness, rather than its power, and creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have Defender. We can also pay 3 mana, activate Fellothar, sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its toughness, but we gotta discard cards equal to its power. So we want to sacrifice our thick boys for value to draw a bunch of cards. We want to have some really thick boys, and the first thick boy we're going to slam up here is Treebeard. We talked about Baitor last night, which is the opposite end of this precon. It's the alternate commander for the precon. Treebeard himself is a 0/5 for 4 mana. He enters, you make yourself 2 foods, and whenever you gain life, you slam that many counters on Treebeard. Treebeard himself also has Trample and Ward 2. I enjoy Treebeard. He's one of my favorite cards from Lord of the Rings, and he was the original commander of my Selesnya life gain deck. Highly recommend. He's also a certified thick boy at 0 power and 5 toughness. Hey y'all, if you have any suggestions, I'm doing good, Zombie. How are you doing? We're looking at thick boys for Fellothar tonight. So we just looked at Treebeard, gracious host. We saw this one. It also fit in the Baitor deck we looked at yesterday. But we also got another Treebeard, and this Treebeard is also thick, except this one's a reprint. It's really Dorian the Siege Shower, which was a lot like Fellothar. This 3-drop legendary Shaman Treefolk 0/5 says that each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, but this thing doesn't get around to the defender bit like Fellothar does. Fellothar simply is this version of Dorian or Treebeard, plus a bunch of extra value. It outclasses it for a single mana more. Also, it itself doesn't have Defender, not that Dorian does. But anyway, yeah, another thick boy for our thick boy deck. Hey, Kiki's a badass! Good to see you! How are you doing, Kiki? We are looking at large power creatures tonight. If you have any, excuse me, not large power, large toughness creatures, we want thick boys. Let's take a look at a Tree of Perdition. Tree of Perdition recently had a reprint in the, not Murders of Karlov Manor, the Innistrad Remastered set that came out, I think, in January. This thing is a 4-drop plant, it's a defender, and we can tap it and exchange target opponent's life total with this thing's toughness. That's very cool for me. We can take someone from 40 to 13 at instant speed. That's pretty fun. Also, he's a certified thick boy, and if we sacrifice the Tree of Perdition to our Fellothar commander, we're just going to draw 13 cards, because this thing ain't got no power. This thing's cool. I like it. It's only $6 right now. I imagine it's going to get more. You're editing elementary school news segment for tomorrow. Let me see about putting up some nice boys. Oh, are you hanging out with me while you're grading, Kiki? That's cool. Everyone, please give a hand for Kiki. She is a teacher. Thank you for hanging out with us, Kiki. Hope you hear about some cool cards tonight. Okay, we don't have any. TikTok is quiet, y'all. We ain't got nothing in the TikTok. Let's talk about, we need a wall. Let's talk about a wall of blossoms. So we can run defenders and attack with them. We want big, thick boys with big, thick toughness. This is a 0/4 wall for 2 mana, and we draw a card when it enters. This thing is just a 2 mana 4/4 pretty much in a Fellothar deck. If we sacrifice it, we draw 4 cards, and we discard none because this thing ain't got no power. It's just got 4 toughness. And in Fellothar, we can attack as if it's a 4/4. If y'all got any cards to suggest over on TikTok, please put them in the comments, y'all. All right, let's see. Let's make sure TikTok's working. TikTok usually isn't this quiet. Oh, we got a new message. No, we don't. Maybe we do. All right, we are looking at walls. We are looking at thick boys. We are running Fellothar. He is coming out in the new Abzan Precon next month. Let's see. Oh, damn, Kiki. Hey, Bongo Johnson. How's it going? All right, so we need more walls. We need more thick power. Not thick power. We need thick toughness. We need a bunch of toughness to really maximize our value on Fellothar. Suspicious Bookcase. Yeah, dude. Great username. Yeah, dude. Let's talk about a sus bookcase. Suspicious Bookcase. Don't be suspicious. Don't be a suspicious bookcase. Suspicious bookcase. All right, we got an artifact. It's a 0/4 for 2 mana. It's going to function like a 4/4 in our Felithar deck. This thing's also got an activated ability where we pay 3 and target creature can't be blocked this turn. That's amazing. We're going to have a lot of low mana, big toughness boys who are going to treat their toughness like their power with Felithar. This thing will just make one of them unblockable for 3 mana each turn, and this thing by itself will function like a 4/4. Really cool. Also, it's really easy to cast because it's all generic mana. Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. Bongo Johnson has a Crystal Barricade for us. Crystal Barricade, I believe it came out in Ikoria. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, dude, let's talk not Crystal Ball. We want a Crystal Barricade. Here it is. Okay, so not from Ikoria. This thing looks like it came out in Foundations. It's a artifact. It's 1 generic and a white for a 0/4. I'm getting a lot of 2 mana 4/4s in this Felithar deck. It says that we have hexproof. That is super significant, y'all. If we give ourselves hexproof, we will be immune from abilities that say target player, like target player sacrifices a bunch of creature, or target player discards some cards, or target player has a bad day. We will have hexproof, and that won't happen to us. So this is cool for that. And this thing says, prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures. 10 out of 10. This thing is so amazing. Actually, this thing's amazing. This thing came out in Foundations. It's $3 for the pre-release version of this thing. This thing's a house. It gives us hexproof, and it prevents non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures we control. So, like, our creatures are going to be protected from a Blasphemous Act. We're going to be protected from things that target us. This thing's amazing. 10 out of 10. Who put this in here? Bongo Johnson, great suggestion. Crystal Barricade goes hard, y'all. That's great. That's the best wall we've seen tonight. Have we looked at... Oh, we did look at Tree of Perdition, Iris. Also, good to see you, Iris. Iris, good to see you again. Tree of Perdition, it's like a 4 mana, and it's going to be a function like a 13/13 in our Felithar deck. It's very cool. It's also got that 0 power, so if we sacrifice it to Felithar, we are just going to draw 13 cards. It's going to be nuts. Ooh, I see. Oh, Zombie gave us our first suggestion of the on Twitch is going to be a Rampart Architect. Rampart Architect. Rampart Architect is not a card I'm familiar with. Rampart Architect. Okay, I'm not familiar with that because it ain't out yet. It looks like it's coming out in the Felidar Precon. Excuse me, Felithar. I keep saying Felidar because that's like the mythical cat beast. This is a Rampart Architect. It's an Elephant Advisor. It's a 3/4. Whenever this creature enters the battle, whenever it enters or attacks, we make a 1/3 wall creature token with Defender. Whenever it enters or attacks, and whenever a creature you control with Defender dies, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. 10 out of 10 would play the hell out of this. This thing was definitely made for the Felidar strategy. It's in its precon. It makes multiple tokens. Felithar wants to sacrifice creatures to draw cards and draw cards equal to toughness, discard cards equal to its power. These are 1/3, so we draw 3, and then we discard 1 when we sacrifice one of these elephant's tokens. That feels good to me. This is great. 10 out of 10 would play this absolutely all day. And it makes tokens. It makes us really hard to hit because we're going to have a bunch of walls. Because it does it whenever it enters or attacks. Pantor Torres, how's it going? Thank you, Pantor Torres. I appreciate it. Oh, shit. Damn, Kiki gave us some suggestions. Let's talk about... All right, Kiki, we're going to do your Slagworm. Because Slagworm looks like the most fun word to say of all those that you typed. We're going to talk about a Slagworm Armor. Slagworm Armor. Slagworm Armor. Okay, let's try... maybe if there's a U instead of a O. Slagworm Armor. Uh-oh. We got a... Uh-oh. Whoa. We are messing up at a high rate of speed. We need to get rid of these words. Okay, the words are gone. And our stream's a little messed up. We'll figure that out. Slagworm Armor is a 1 mana artifact, and it says that the equipped creature gets 0, +0/+6. It's also got equipped 3. So this is cool. We can make one creature especially thick with this little piece of equipment, and we'll be able to put it on a different creature. If we want to sacrifice the creature we equip with this thing. That feels really good. It hangs out. It's less than $1. Yeah, I vibe hard. And we're just going to make sure the TikTok overlays are okay. The TikTok overlays are okay. We recovered. Hell yeah. Thank you, Kiki, for the suggestion. All right, our next one is going to be from Austin Hazen on TikTok, and it's going to be a Colossus of Akros. Colossus of Akros is our next suggestion. I'm not super familiar with the Colossus of Akros. Sounds like it's from Theros. Colossus of Akros. Colossus of Akros. Okay, he's cool. He's an 8 mana 10/10. He's got Defender and he's indestructible. He's got a 10 mana activated ability for Monstrosity 10. If this creature ain't monstrous, you put 10 +1/+1 counters on it and it is now a monster. Or it becomes monstrous. As long as this thing is monstrous, it has trample and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Excuse me, it has Defender indestructible. This thing's cool. The one thing that kind of gives me pause about this thing, we have seen like 3 or 4 different 0/4s around the 2 mana mark. This thing's a 10/10. It's symmetric, so it's going to be harder for us to sacrifice it to Felithar because of its symmetric power toughness box. Other than that, though, it's an indestructible defender, which we love. It can also get big all by itself using the monstrous ability. So for those reasons, I like it. I also love that it's $2, and I personally love large men. So we're going to put this large man in the deck. Thank you very much, Austin, for the suggestion. Spicy Tortilla, good to see you, dude. Let's talk about a Giant Ox. Giant Ox. Giant Ox, 2 mana zeros. Oh, right, hell yeah, this is a great rate, because this thing's going to function like a 6/6 in our deck for 2 whole mana off this Ox from Kaldheim. It's a common. It says that it crews vehicles during its... it crews vehicles using its toughness rather than its power. Okay, this thing goes hardcore. This Ox pulls cards. It pulls whatever the hell it wants. This thing crews vehicles as if it had 6 power. I don't see that being super significant for us. I think there's 1 or 2 weirdly asymmetric vehicles that we could use to sacrifice to Felithar. I don't know. It's cool for that, but other than that, it's a 2 mana 6/6 in a Felithar deck, and that's cool all by itself. Hey y'all, I'm BGM or Bigger Gayer Magic, and on stream, if you want to suggest cards to put in our Felithar deck, I'm excited about it. It's coming out next month in the Abzan pre-con for Dragonstorm Karkir. If you would like to suggest a card for it, and you see it over here, it'll be put into a Mox Field deck list, and you can see what other people are suggesting for a Felithar deck on my Mox Field page, and y'all can get there via the link tree. Sapling of Kalenifer. Kalenifer? We're gonna hope Kalenifer is spelled right. I know what you're talking about. It's like a Golgari Sapling. SAPLING space OFCOLFENFOR. We're looking for the sapling. It's like a Golgari. Can I please get a spell check on Sapling of Kolfenfor, please? It's like I think it's like a Golgari treefolk creature. I'm not familiar. Black Oak of Odunas. Hey Vash, good to see you, Vash. You want us to run that Black Oak of Adonis? Black Oak of Adonis is not a card I'm familiar with, but it sounds Lord of the Rings as hell to me. The Black Oak of Odonis is a 3 mana Theros zombie treefolk 0/5 defender with an activated ability to pay black. Tap another untapped creature you control, and this thing gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's a 3 mana 5/5 in our deck, and it lets us tap other stuff to make it bigger. I don't mind this. It's 40 cents. It's a zombie treefolk, which I guess could be significant in certain kinds of decks. But, yeah, it's a perfectly playable card, and it's going to function like a 3 mana 5/5. Yeah, cool suggestion. Alright, moving on. Yeah, dude, Builder's Talent. Yeah, dude, let's run a Builder's Talent, suggested by Yeah, Dude, over on TikTok. We're going to pull up this here Builder's Talent. It came out in Bloomborough. It's 40 cents. It's a 2 mana white class enchantment. The first step, when it enters, you make a 0/4 wall. Again, we got another 4/4 functioning creature for 2 mana. Again, and this thing's going to do more, because the other step says whenever one or more non-creature, non-land permanents you control enter, put a +1/+1 on target creature you control. That's okay. That doesn't feel as significant to me, especially in a Felithar deck. I feel like we're kind of creature heavy. And then for 5 mana, when this class becomes level 3, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I don't hate that. This thing feels like it cares more about non-creature permanents, but it does slam down a wall, and it does do utility things. And when it hangs out on the battlefield, if we put down non-creature things, we can get some +1/+1 counters. I don't hate that. Yeah, it'll make our creatures bigger slowly. Alright, Vash wants us to... Oh my god, Kiki, you're amazing. I'm sorry, Vash will do yours right after. Sapling of Kolfanor. Sapling of Kolfanor. Sapling of Kolfanor, is it the guy? Yeah, this guy. I knew he was Golgari. He's a Golgari 5-drop legendary Treefolk Shaman. He's a 2/5 with Indestructible. And this thing says, whenever this thing attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you gain life equal to that card's toughness. Lose life equal to its power. Put it into your hand. I like that. So it's going to give us some card advantage. It's going to gain us a little bit of life. It's going to lose us a bit of life. It's cool. It's an indestructible 2/5. We can make it big and thick and sacrifice it to our commander for oodles and boodles of cards. Or we can let it hang out on the battlefield to get us cards incrementally. I don't mind this thing. But we do need to attack with it. But it's indestructible, so we'll be attacking willy-nilly. We don't even need to put it anywhere important. Hell yeah. Alright. Behind the Scenes from Shadows over Innistrad by Harib. Harib.o. Behind the Scenes from Shadows over Innistrad. Behind the Scenes is a 3-mana mono black enchantment that says creatures you control have Skelk, meaning that they're harder to block because they can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Oh no! Diabolical. Absolutely insane. Okay, right? So Felithar kind of incentivizes us to run very low power creatures. Because of her sacrifice activated ability, we want as low a power as possible. This thing is going to check for power even though our creatures are dealing combat damage with their toughness. Meaning that our things are big and this thing makes them unblockable. This is absolutely broken as hell. Okay, what else does it do? Pay 5 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. I don't care about that. We're here for the unblockable low power creatures, y'all. This thing is a house. And it's a 40-cent house. And this man looks like he's about to tell us a secret. I don't mind that. Hell yeah, very cool suggestion. Great suggestion. Alright, I see a Faithful Squire from Sloan Cole. Hey, Sloan Cole. I don't know if we've hung out before. You want us to run a Faithful Squire? Okay, Faithful Squire. Let's pull it on up. Faithful Squire. Alright, we got one of them Kamigawa cards that flips. Whenever you play a spirit or an arcane spell, you may put a key counter on the Faithful Squire, and at your end step, if there are 2 or more key counters on it, you flip it into its better version, which I have to read upside down. Remove a key counter from this thing. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn. Okay, cool. So it's gonna flip into an asymmetric creature that technically has bigger toughness than its power. So it fits the theme. We can remove key counters from things to prevent some combat. It's cool, it's 40 cents, it's complicated, and it made me read something upside down. I don't know, I'm kind of torn about it though. Because I feel like for 3 mana, we can get something that's like, I don't know. Have you had good experiences with this? Sloan, tell me more about it. Have you had any cool plays with it? I know like the potential is there, and if like your opponent can see the key counters, that's cool. But if they're like doing a burn deck, this thing could be cool. I feel like that would be a cool thing to have for protection. Thank you for the suggestion, Sloan. Let's talk about a Dragon Storm. Scarada Gaming 94 wants us to run a Dragon Storm. Dragon Storm. Dragon Storm. Corroding Dragon Storm? Oh god, which Dragon Storm? Is there one? Alright, I can't see one called Dragon Storm. They're all coming out in the new set. Alright, let's look at a rock. Each dragon you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and this thing taps for mana. We got a Corroding Dragon Storm. It's a little 2-drop enchantment coming out in the next set. Excuse me. When this enchantment enters, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and you surveil 2. That's cool. Help us put some cards in the graveyard. Excuse me. Whenever a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. Okay, cool. I don't hate this. It's definitely a Dragon's Matter kind of game piece. I imagine it's going to do a lot better in other formats than Commander. This thing wants to be entering multiple times. I don't hate that. Also, the art is really good. But I'm not sure that's what you meant when you wanted us to run Dragonstorm. Dodge Boy 426 MTG wants us to run the Marble Titan. Marble Titan, not a card I'm familiar with. Marble Titan's old as hell. It's $2. It's 4 mana. It's a 3/3. Creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap step. Hell yeah, brother. Let's play stacks, but let's play stacks that our opponents have never seen before. Man, I really don't like stacks, but like this is like the only I feel like you kind of have to run this if you're gonna run a low power Abzan build where you're attacking with your thick fatties. I don't know. I feel like this is cool. It'll just turn off your opponent's creatures. It'll say they don't untap, and if they swing outright at you and let you live, you play this on your following turn, and their stuff never untaps. How fun is that? Yeah, Marble Titan, very cool card. This thing does a lot. Thank you, Dodge Boy. This is a great suggestion. All right, CJ Huggins wants us to run a Gauntlets of Light. Gauntlets of Light, not a card I'm familiar with. Oh wait, maybe not Gauntlets of Light. Maybe not how you spell Gauntlets. That's definitely not how you spell Gauntlets. All right, GAU. Hopefully that's right now. Gauntlets of Chaos? No, we want a Gauntlets of Light is pretty good. We want Gauntlets of Light. Gauntlets of Light came out in Core Set 2020. 3 mana aura on white. Enchant creature gets 0 plus 0. What's wrong with it? The enchanted creature gets +0/+2, and assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. And you can activate it for 3 to untap the creature. I like that a lot. We have a few rocks, we have a few colorless pieces that we can use to untap our commander if we want to sacrifice multiple things and just draw out our deck, I guess, in these colors. That's what I imagine we'd be using this little untap ability for. But outside of that, it just makes one of your thick boys a little bit thicker. And that's perfectly fine. Oh, Rickard Dopenya, it is Moxfield. I am BGM or Bigger Gayer Magic. If you want to see any of the cards that other people have suggested for our Fellow Thar deck, please put them. Please check out the Moxfield page in the link tree. Let's talk about an Angelic Wall. Brian wants us to, not Brian, yeah, dude wants us to run an Angelic Wall is better than Flying Wall. Angelic Wall is a 2 mana white 0/4 that fly. Yeah, this thing is just a flying 4/4 for 2 mana in our Fellow Thar deck. We could sacrifice it to draw 4 cards, discard 0 cards. It's 35 cents. It flies. That's cool. I don't hate that. I feel like we are like a go wide big toughness build. Infinite mana, a Silent Skimmer. Iris wants us to run the Silent Skimmer. Silent Skimmer is not a card I have ever heard of before, but the name is really cool. I love alliteration. Silent Skimmer is an Eldrazi drone 0/4 for 40 cents. It's a common, and I think it came out in one of the newer Zendikar blocks. Whenever this thing attacks, defending player loses 2 life. It has flying, it has devoid, it's a 0/4. It's not really a defender, but it's a common for 40 cents. The art is cool. I like this frame treatment. I don't know what this frame treatment's called. It's almost borderless, but not really. It's got the pipeline. It's cool. This looks ominous. It's giving me like lo-fi vibes on the art, like they put a filter over it or something. This is a cool card. I don't mind it. And it's not often that you find a lot of playable commons in Commander, and this thing, I would play this thing because it flies, and that's a relevant keyword. Sometimes all you need to survive another turn is 1 flying blocker. Oh, Sloan said they blocked 40 damage with that key thing. Good for you, Sloan. Alright, Zombie, I see an Ishkana. Oh god, please be spelled correctly. Ishkana! Ishkana! Ishkana, Graph Widow, was the OG Spider Commander before we got Shelob in all her glory. This is a 5 mana mono green spider, and people forced Spider Tribal in Commander with this thing, even though it really didn't lend itself to Spider Tribal. This thing is a 3/5 reacher with Delirium. If there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, you create 3 1/2 spiders with reach. You can also activate this thing for 7. Oh wait, it's not mono green. It has a black activated ability. My mistake. This is a Golgari commander. Pay 7, target opponent loses 1 life for each spider you control. I guess I don't know. All I know is that my friend's spider tribal deck with this thing at the helm sucked until Shelob came out. Andrew Cowley wants us to run Peregrine Mask. Peregrine Mask. An equipment that gives flying, first strike, and defender. Peregrine Mask gives flying, first strike, and defender, as advertised by Andrew Cowley on TikTok. It's a 1 mana, it's got equip 2, so you invest 3 mana, and you give your creature a bunch of keywords. Defender's not really relevant in this deck. We can look at that as if it doesn't exist, as long as our commander's on the battlefield. And it gives it flying and first strike for a mana investment of 3. That feels pretty good to me. Flying is a keyword that you need against dragon decks, and we are going to have so many dragon decks out in the environment soon. So yeah, have flyers. This thing gives flying. Thank you for the suggestion, Callie. CJ Huggins wants us to run an Allurin. Allurin? An Allurin. Allurin is a 4 mana, $50 American mono green enchantment, and I have no idea what set symbol that is. But this thing says any player may play a creature card with CMC 3 or less whenever he or she can play an instant or sorcery. Or play an instant. And they don't have to pay their mana cost. So, we have seen so many aggressively costed defenders in this deck. And because Felithar kind of removes defenders and lets our aggressively costed little attackers now hit, this thing's great. If we draw a ton of cards off a Felithar trigger, this thing will let us drop all those 2-drops onto the battlefield. It'll be absolutely crazy. Yeah, this thing's great. I wish it wasn't $50. The art is really cool. This is a Maximalist art if I've ever seen it. There is so much going on in the foreground. There's like there's so many layers. There is so much going on in this art. We got an elf over here, an elf over here. It looks like a Phyrexian. We got a snake, it appears. This art goes hard. I don't even know what the hell that thing is. Yeah, cool card. I don't think I've ever seen a Lurin before. Kept Evergreen, good to see you, dude. How are you doing, Kept Evergreen? You want us to run that Murderous Cut. Okay, let's pull up Murderous Cut. Murderous Cut, not a card I'm familiar with. Bet it's a black kill spell. Yeah, it is a black kill spell. Hell yeah. Alright. It's a 5 mana instant that we can destroy target creature, or we only have to pay a single black for this thing, because each card you exile from your graveyard while casting it pays for 1. It's great. It can be a 1 mana kill thing. And if we, I don't know, sacrifice a Tree of Perdition to our Felithar commander, we're going to be drawing a bunch of cards. If we want to have a bunch of stuff in our graveyard, I feel like the way we're really going to accomplish that in our Felithar deck is by sacrificing big, thick boys to Felithar's activated ability, draw a ton of cards, probably discard nothing, because so many defenders have 0 power. Yeah, this thing's cool. And this can just be a really aggressively costed removal spell in a Felithar deck. Cool suggestion. Oh, Jonah wants us to run Nethroi. We got suggested Nethroi last night too. Nethroi's cool. Yeah, Nethroi is a 5 mana mutate commander in Abzan colors. But if you want to mutate it, you do have to invest 7 mana, and you better have 2 black pips. It's a 5/5 with Death Touch and Lifelink, and whenever this creature mutates, you return up to 10 mana worth of CMC permanents. Not permanents. You return 10 CMC worth of creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. Thank you very much for the follow, Naha Commander. I appreciate it. I'm BGM, or Bigger Gayer, and on Live Deck Building, we talk about whatever card you want to suggest for our commander over here. Tonight, we're doing like a Toughness Matters, kind of like aristocrat-y sacrifice, tough boys build. This thing is from the Precon coming out next month for Dragonstorm. Alright, let's do keyword dinosaur. I saw Zetalpa. Zetalpa is a big boy. It's a 4/8, but it's got double strike. It's 8 mana, it's mono white, and this thing's got so many keywords. He's often just referred to as the keyword dinosaur. This thing's got flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. It is hardcore. It is very cool. A child once pulled out this Ice Zetalpa Voltron deck and absolutely handed me my butt. He was like 8 years old, but like it was his only deck and he knew it really well, and he absolutely thrashed me. It was cool for him. It was during an event and he won a prize. I like Zetalpa. I didn't know it had Commander potential until I got beat down by that child at an event, but this is cool. I like this thing. It's seen a few reprints, and it's an exciting card. It's an 8-mana, big, scary dinosaur with a ton of keywords. It's a lot of fun, and you can get one of these things for only 60 cents right now. Priest of Norn. Zombie wants us to run a Priest of Norn. Priest of Norn, not a card I'm familiar with. Okay, this art, I'm familiar with the art. This art is so good. It is a 1/4. It's a Vigilance Infecting. Oh no. It's an infecting creature. We're getting sweaty. Let's get sweaty and talk about Infect. So Infect means it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters, but to players, it deals damage in the form of poison counters. And if you get 10 whole poison counters, you are done with that game, because you will die. 10 poison counters in Commander will kill you instead of just 40 life or 21 or 20 Commander damage. Yeah, this thing's cool. In our deck, it's a 3-mana 4/4 with Infect. Phyrexian oil runs through zombie kidneys veins. Me too, dude. I got to do a cool effect on one of my videos coming out tomorrow where I like made black oil rain down my face briefly. It was cool. That's coming out tomorrow on YouTube. Wandering Tower Shell. Wandering Tower Shell. Wandering Tower Shell. Wandering Tower Shell. Is Wandering Tower Shell in our color identity? Well, let's pull up Wandering. Wandering Tower Shell. If it's a blue turtle, it's not going to come up. Wandering Tower Shell. I don't think so. Unfortunately. Might be Tomb. Yeah, the Wandering Tomb Shell. That's it. Wandering Tomb Shell. It's a big black turtle. It's a 1/6. It's a big zombie turtle for 4 mana. It's a common, and it was one from one of the OG Tarkir blocks. But it's a 1/6. It's vanilla. It's got a bunch of flavor text. But you know what it is in a Felithar deck? It's a 4 mana 6/6. Is a 4 mana 6/6 in Commander playable? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. Would you guys run a 4 mana 6/6 in Commander if it had no abilities? Well, in this deck I would, because we could sacrifice this thing to Felithar. It ain't got no abilities, so it's great sacrifice fodder, and it'll draw us 5 cards. If we keep it vanilla, if we make it bigger, it'll draw us about the same, because it does have 1 power. Womp womp. I don't know. It's cool. It's budget, and we like that. Hub says yes. Hub says yes. All right, thank you, Hub. Playable for real. Thank you, Kiki. I always appreciate having you. All right, Bongo Johnson wants us to run the Overgrown Battlements. Overgrown Battlements, not a card. I'm seeing so many things I am not familiar with tonight. We want an Overgrown Battlements. Overgrown Battlements. Overgrown Battlements came out. I don't know what that set symbol is. I don't know when this card came out, but we got another 2 mana 4/4 wall for us, because we're going to treat its toughness as if it's its power in a Felithar deck when it's on the commander, once on the battlefield. This wall taps for mana though, but it makes grain for each creature you control with Defender. Amazing. 10 out of 10. We are going to, this thing is going to ramp us so hard. It's going to come out early. It's going to be a 4 power creature, kind of. It's got 0 power, so it's going to be a 4 toughness creature. It's going to function like a 4/4. We could sacrifice it to Felithar for 4 cards, and it can make us mana in the interim. I like this. And it's only $1.50, and it looks like they got a bunch of carrots on it. Good suggestion. Very good suggestion. Oh, Jacob. Jacob, you want us to run Doran? Doran the Siege Tower. Doran the Siege Tower. So we saw Doran's reprint of Treebeard from Lord of the Rings early on in the live. Doran is a 3 mana 0/5, and he was kind of like the Defender Commander, because this thing says that each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Doran's very cool. It's a 0/5. It's a great thing to sacrifice to Felithar. It used to be this strategy's premier commander for having big, thick boys in these colors. It was Doran all the way. But if you can just compare these 2 cards, Doran's only ability is just Felithar's top ability. And then Felithar gets around Trample, which is something that Doran had to have multiple pieces to get around. And this thing can also draw you cards. Felithar simply is better. Dorian can go in the deck, though. Well, the old man can still play. Ivan Jumper! Good to see you, Ivan. How you been? Let's talk about a wall of shards. Wall of shards. Wall of shards. Wall of shards? Wall of shards. Okay, that art's metal as hell. I like that quite a bit. Alright, so we got... Oh my god, it's a 1/8. It's a 2-mana 1/8 that flies, but it's got a cumulative upkeep. Cumulative upkeep of 1 life. So each turn... oh god, I love that cumulative upkeep has reminder text on here. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an age counter on this permanent and then sacrifice it unless you pay its upkeep cost for each age counter on it. But this upkeep cost is life, which is a lot less punishing than mana. So we can let this thing hang out. Or, you know, if we don't want to pay that 1 life, cumulatively getting bigger and bigger every turn, it's a 1/8. We can sacrifice it for 3 mana to our girl Felithar over here and draw 7 cards off this thing. That's a whole new hand. And if we draw 7 cards off this thing, we're probably going to be able to selectively slam some things into the graveyard for some synergy later. I like this thing quite a bit. I have migrated from the TikTok. Hey, Barry. Ikra Shadiki. Ikra Shadiki? Ikra Shadiki. Ikra Shadiki. Ikra Shadiki, the Usurper, is a 5-mana partner commander. I want to say that this thing came out in the Yidris precon alongside the same cycle of precons as the OG Atraxa. This is a 5-mana Golgari Naga Wizard, 3/7. Hey, we got that asymmetric text box we want in our Felithar deck. This has got Menace. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Okay, so we can gain a bunch of life. We haven't seen a lot of pay life abilities. We more so saw that yesterday with Baitor when we were running the opposite commander from the precon. This thing's cool though. It does have an asymmetric power box, and she's got a hefty back end at 7 toughness, which is a relevant swinger in this deck. I like this. This is very cool. Good suggestion. Alaskan Love, good to see you, dude. Alaskan Love wants us to run True Conviction. True Conviction. True Conviction sounds like a white card. Sure it is. It's a 6-mana white enchantment. Creatures you control have double strike and lifelink. We like this. This is going to be a finisher. It's almost going to be an overrun. It's $8. Look at this man's breastplate. That's a beautiful breastplate. Okay, so it's going to give everything double strike. It's going to give everything lifelink. We love those. Double strike is a great keyword. It's almost game ending if blockers are out of the way. Yeah, great suggestion. Great suggestion. Jacob wants us to run Tower Defense. Tower Defense ain't a card I'm familiar with. Tower Defense. Tower Defense. It's a 2-mana blue instant. Creatures control get +0/+5 and gain reach until end of turn. Oh my god. This thing's disgustingly good in this deck. Okay. This is a... Oh my... Imagine if you're swinging with multiple creatures. If you're swinging with let's say 3 creatures. 3 creatures seems really reasonable in this deck. We see a lot of low drops. I'm sure we can reliably have 3 creatures by like turn 4, 5, 6. Swing out 3 creatures on turn 6. Let's be conservative about it. Creatures you control get +0/+5. If you swing with 3 creatures and you're attacking, you cast this thing, you're shitting out 15 more power at instant speed. That's insane. I love that. Great suggestion. And this, I feel like, is going to be really fun. It's an instant. It's going to make really memorable moments. It's going to make players wary if they play against your deck multiple times. It's going to create really fun moments. And this is a good one. This is a really good one. I can get behind this. I already booked off the Dragon Storm. Oh, Smokin' Dandy. You excited for that pre-release? The Dragon Storm released it. Yeah, that's broken. Yeah, dude, it is broken. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, I just say the phrase, yeah, dude, and I'm so glad there's someone with the username, yeah, dude, in here, because I'm just like, yeah, dude, and it's like I'm talking to someone when I'm normally just saying it to myself. But let's talk about Carrion Wall. Carrion Wall, suggested by my new favorite friend. Yeah, dude, Carrion Wall, okay, metal art. We got a 3-mana, 3/2. Ooh, that is not the asymmetry we were looking for, but we can pay 2 mana to regenerate it. Oh, your draw motor. This is a discard mortar, my friend. If we keep sacrificing this thing, we're going to be discarding more cards than we draw. It also said, wait. Oh, it's a wall. I don't know. It's interesting. We could, if we can bump up its toughness with some equipment or some auras, get it above that threshold of its power of 3, we could continually sacrifice this thing for oodles and boodles of cards, but it's going to take at least one other card to make its toughness bigger. Or, yeah, it'll take something. It needs a little work, but it has a lot of potential to repeatedly sacrifice it. Do you have Wall of Junk? E-Man, I ain't got no Wall of Junk. Let's pull it up. Thanks for the suggestion. Wall of Junk. Wall of Junk, 2 mana, colorless, great art. It's kind of horrifying. It's a 0/7 defender for 2 mana, and when it blocks, return it to its owner's hand at end of combat. Well, it looks like we're not going to be blocking with this Wall of Junk. We're going to be swinging. This is a 2 mana, 2 generic mana, so it's super easy to cast. 7/7 in a Felithar deck. This thing's absolutely nuts. This thing's absolutely crazy. Who put this in here? Wall of Junk, E-Man. E-Man. Wow, okay. Damn, Wall of Junk goes hard. All right. Thank you, Matt T, for the follow. I'm BGM, or Bigger Gayer, and on live deck building, we talk about a commander. We're looking at this one because it's coming out in the Abzan Precon next month. And if you want to suggest any cards, and you see it over here, you can see all the viewer suggestions in the Moxfield deck list, and y'all can get there via the link tree on my profile. Thanks for hanging out with me. And the cards you'll see on that deck list are Wall of Mourning is our next suggestion. Are all viewer suggestions. Mine is like Treebeard, which is the first card I pulled up while I was waiting for suggestions. Thank you guys so much for all the follows. E-Man, CJ, Dominic, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the follows. And Matt D, yeah, I think I said you first. All right, let's talk about Wall of Mourning. Again, we got another 2 mana 0/4 with Defender. When it enters the battlefield, exile a card from the top of your library, face down for each opponent you have. Okay, cool. And then we can Coven. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a card exiled with this thing into its owner's hand. Enters the battlefield, exile card. Okay, so it enters, we're going to exile 3 cards because we're playing Commander, I hope. And then we need to get that Coven. That Coven feels like it might be hard for me, right? Because Felithar incentivizes a strategy where you want to run 0-power creatures, because 0-power creatures, when sacrificed to Felithar's activated ability right here, will just draw you a bunch of cards without forcing you to discard. But other than that, this is just another 2 mana 4/4 in a deck full of 2 mana 4/4s. Very cool. And it has upside. And if your deck can mess around with power, this is a great include because it'll get you free spells. Right, it is free spells. Put a card exile. Oh wait, no, it's not free spells. It just puts the cards in your hand. Womp womp. I feel a little differently now. The things have changed. Okay, cool though. It's still Wall of Mourning. And it's only 50 cents. Wall of Nets. Gibby 159. Wall of Nets. Wall of Nets. Gibby wants us to run the Wall of Nets. It's 5 mana. It's a white 3-drop. It's a wall. And at the end of combat, remove from the game all creatures that blocked Wall of Nets. If Wall of Nets leaves play, return to play under its owner's control, all creatures removed from the game with Wall of Nets. Okay, so we really don't want to be attacking with... Wait, yes we do. That's a 3 mana 0/7. Guys, I'm going to be real with you. If I was playing Wall of Nets, I probably would rarely leave... In Felithar specifically, I'd probably be swinging with it because it's a 3 mana 7/7. The rest of the words are cool. If we're on the back foot, maybe our commander gets removed. This will be a cool thing to have untapped on the battlefield. But if our game is going well, it's a 3 mana 7 power. It hits for 7 in this deck. It's crazy. Good suggestion, Gibby. I appreciate it. Alaskan Loves wants us to run Brave the Sands. Brave the Sands. We're going to Brave the Sands with Alaskan Love. We got ourselves a little 2 mana mono white Tarkir enchantment. Creatures you control got Vigilance, and each creature you control can block an additional creature. Alright, 10 out of 10. Here we are. It gives things Vigilance. It's 2 mana, aggressively costed. $4. That's not so bad. It gives your creatures Vigilance, and they can block additional creatures. We're in a Walls deck, but we are kind of breaking the mold of the Walls deck because we're attacking with them. Well, I guess most Walls deck eventually. I don't know. Anyway, this thing's cool. It'll give everything Vigilance so we can block as God intended with our walls. Exhale, Sign of... You want us to run Exhale, Sign of Atraxa? Exhale, Sign of... Isn't that like a poison, infecty, toxic deck? It is a 2/5. It is a 2/5, so that's not awful in this deck. It does have flying and vigilance. Okay, you know what? You've convinced me. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters exiles the top card of their library face down, and you may look at and play those cards. And you may spend mana or mana of any color to do it. It's cool. It can get us some card advantage off our opponent's decks, get us some spell advantage, but if we're not seeing a lot of poison counters, it's probably not going to do that for us. Because it does need to hit twice, right? And at the same, on curve, it's the same amount of mana as our commander. I don't know. I feel like this could be like my 103rd card. It's cool, though. This thing was popular when it came out. The XL, if you want to run like a Phyrexian Toxic build, the XL Precon was pretty cool. A little bit dirtily, but still pretty cool. All right, so we have seen Ivan. Hey, Ivan, good to see you in multiple places. Thanks, dude. So we've seen Tree of Perdition a few times. Let's try Tree of Redemption. You're the first one to suggest a Tree of Redemption. Tree of Redemption, 4 mana, 0/13. Exchange your life total with this thing's toughness. Okay, so Tree of Perdition exchanges other people's life totals. Tree of Redemption changes our life total. This thing's 8 mana. It's cool. It's nice. I tell you what, though, this is going to be a 7 mana play for us. I'm going to play this thing for 4 mana, sacrifice it to Felithar for 3, and draw 13 cards. And probably win the game on the following turn. That's what I'm going to do with this Tree of Redemption. Dream Demon wants us to... Hey, Dream Demon, I don't know if I've greeted you yet, but also so good to see you, Dream Demon. Let's do a Souls of the Faultless. Souls of the Faultless. That's an Orzhov card, right? Souls of the Faultless. Yeah, it is. Oh, this thing. This thing combos with, like, not Wall of Perdition, not Tree of Perdition. Anyway, it's something where, like, if you would take damage... Pariah's Shield. Pariah and Pariah's Shield this thing combos with. It's a 3 mana 0/4 defender. We're already on theme. Whenever this thing is dealt combat damage, you gain that much life. An attacking player loses that much life. 10 out of 10. So good. If you combo this thing with something called Pariah or Pariah's Shield that stops you from taking damage, this thing goes absolutely insane. It's very cool. The art is very sad looking to me, but it's a cool card. It's a very interesting defender. If you can slam this thing with some keywords so it can block some flyers too, that'd be delicious. Stale Cheese wants us to run Shield Sphere. Shield Sphere, best defender, plays into deck directly. Let's pull up Shield Sphere. It's suggested by Stale Cheese. Thank you, Stale Cheese, for... Uh-oh. Maybe I misspelled... I did. I misspelled Shield. That has to be it. EI? No, that doesn't feel right. No, I misspelled Sphere. Yeah, Sphere has an H in it. Shield Sphere. Shield Sphere. Okay, we got an older card. It's a $12 0 mana 0/6 artifact creature. Counts as a wall. If Shield Sphere is assigned as a blocker, put a -1 counter on it. God, I hate that. Why does it put asymmetric counters on anything? Why is it 0 mana? You know what? This thing's great. If we want to spend some money on the deck to just have like a really aggressive 0 mana creature, that's great. This thing, if we draw it in the late game after Felithar's already been on the battlefield some turns, we can slam it on the battlefield for 0 mana, pay 3 mana, draw 6 cards. That's a great play. That's drawing 6 cards for 3 mana. That's pretty good. God, the asymmetric count. The asymmetric counter, though, it just hurts me in a way I find difficult to describe. Frostace! Hey, Frostace, how are you doing? Frostace, long-time friend of the channel. Good to see you. You want us to run into Ajani? Which Ajani, bro? Ajani the Great-Hearted. Is that the Selesnian Ajani? Ajani. Ajani the Great-Hearted. Ajani the Great-Hearted came out in War of the Spark. It's got creatures you control got vigilance, 2 activated abilities, +1 you gain 3 life, -2 put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. This thing's cool. It gives our creatures vigilance, so if we want to, have the walls live as God intended them to and not attack, we can give them vigilance, attack with them, and block with them. Very cool. Alright, Barry Jr. wants us to run that Wall of Ice. Wall of Ice! Wall of Ice. Okay, Wall of Ice is 40 cents. It's old. It's got a white border. It's a 3 mana 0/7. And flavor text. 3 mana 0/7. That's a 3 mana 7/7 in this deck, y'all. That's pretty good. Also, the art is old. I've never seen this before. This art's cool. It's giving retro. I don't mind that. Also, I love that it's 40 cents. Macready Lamplight Mare. Macready Lamplight Mare came out in the Fallout expansion. It's an Orzhov creature, and Macready wants our creatures to have tiny powers. Macready, he's a child. He's a 2 mana Orzhov legendary. God, can I please get a... Am I not... it has an Macready. Macready. Come on, child. Oh my gosh. Can I please get a spell check on Macready Lamplight? Well, maybe I'll just put Lamplight Mare. Lamplight Mare. Lamplight Mare. Yeah, there we got Macready. I hate how that's spelled. Is it because I didn't capitalize the C? Okay, anyway, here's Macready Lamplight Mare. He's a 1/3. And whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks against Skulk, it can't be blocked. Can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Whenever a creature of power 4 or greater attacks you, its controller loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. This thing's amazing. Let's talk about it. So, we have seen so many cards that that have 0 power. And if they have 0 power, we saw another 3-drop black card that gives everything Skulk. Our stuff with 0 power probably is just unblockable as long as we give it Skulk. It's going to end the game, and it's going to do it kind of suddenly. It's going to be really good. Be careful, though. Some casual players might not like that. It's cool, though. This thing also kind of punishes players for attacking us, which can de-incentivize some attacks. I like that. It can gain us a little bit of life, hurt our opponents a little bit. Yeah, perfectly playable. Also, it's only 60 cents. The Goods Flight. Thank you very much for the roses. Thank you very much for the hearts, the Goods Flight. I appreciate it. Unhallowed Phalanx. Frost Ace, we saw Crystal Barricade is so good. It gives hexproof. Yeah, we saw that one. Unhallowed Phalanx. Izuku Midoriya. Excellent name. Izuku Midoriya wants us to run an Unhallowed Phalanx. It's a 5 mana zombie soldier, 1/13, enters the battlefield tapped. Excuse me. I don't hate this, right? So, it's 5 mana. That's my least favorite part about it. It's 5 mana. It's 5 mana. We've seen a lot more aggressively costed creatures, but none really hanging out at 13 toughness like this thing is. We have seen both trees, and those... 13 has been the highest toughness we've seen so far in this deck. It was the Tree of Redemption, the Tree of Perdition, and now this Unhallowed Phalanx. I don't mind this. If you just want to use those trees to sacrifice them to Felithar to draw a ton of cards, this thing is a great budget replacement for those cards. Also, the art's pretty cool. I also don't mind that it enters tapped, you know? Because we could, if we have 8 mana, we could sacrifice it on the turn it enters to Felithar and draw 12 cards. Herald of Leshrac, suggested by Kept Evergreen. Y'all better watch out. Kept Evergreen puts out some salty pieces. Let's talk about a Herald of Leshrac. $4, 7 mana, Avatar, Flyer, 2/4. Cumulative upkeep. Gain control of a land you don't... That's a cumulative upkeep. Herald of Leshrac gets +1/+1 for each land you control but do not own. When Herald of Leshrac leaves play, each player gains control of all lands he or she owns that you control. I don't love this for the reasons that you're going to be slowly taking everybody's lands. Right? So for 7 mana, it comes out. It doesn't really do anything yet. It's just kind of like a... kind of an irrelevant body on a 2/4. It has flying, which can be a relevant keyword. It does have the asymmetric power box that we do want in Felithar. This thing, though, we're going to hit an upkeep. It's going to get an age counter. We're going to get 1 land. Then on the next turn, it's going to get 2 age counters. We're going to get... Or it's going to get a second one. We're going to get 2 lands. Then 3. And we're just going to eventually keep stealing all the lands. Salty. But you know what? If you want to steal your opponent's lands, but you want to be cheeky and you want to do it slowly, here's a Herald of Leshrac. Thank you, Kept Evergreen, for the suggestion. Impervious Great Worm. Oh, the Impervious Great Worm. The Impervious Great Worm, I believe, came out in Ravnica Allegiances. The Impervious Great Worm from Ravnica Allegiance. I believe this was the buy a box promo for Ravnica Allegiance. It's a 10 mana 16/16 with Convoke, meaning that our creatures can help us cast it. It's also got Indestructible. It's a big ass body. It does have a symmetric power toughness box though, so it's a little bit of a nombo for us. But we have a bunch of other things that care about large toughnesses too, and this thing's got a large toughness. It doesn't synergize super well with Felithar, but there are other pieces in this deck list that it does synergize well with. And also, it's beautiful. Look at its little eye. Look at its little eye peeking out. It's like, hey, what's up? It's cool. It's also $5. That's not so bad. Aren't you on a card? Aren't you on a card? I am not Jer Binks. I am not on a card unless I put myself there. Let's pull up Marble Titan one more time. So Marble Titan is a 4-mana white spell, $2, 3/3. Creatures of power 3 or greater. Don't untap during their controller's unstap tap. This thing is another stacks piece. We show that Herald of Leshrac. I'm not sure Herald of Leshrac is a stacks piece now that I think about it. But this thing sure is, and it's like the best stacks piece. It is the most synergistic stacks piece because we're going to have itty-bitty powers on our little thick boy defender creatures. This thing is going to make our opponent's creatures never untap if they're big. All right. Sidar Kondo. Sidar Kondo. Is that a partner commander? I believe it is. Sidar Kondo of Jamura is a Selesnyan 2/5. It's got partner and flanking. Whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1. I don't like that. Flanking feels like a very lame keyword to me. It doesn't feel like it does enough. Creatures of your opponent's control without flying. Wait, creatures of your opponent's control without flying or reach can't block creatures with power 2 or less. Oh my god. Well, we just have another thing to make our big, fat, thick boys very unblockable. So Skulk can do this. We got Sidar Kondo over here who does it for $1. This thing's real good. Especially because we have so many 0-power creatures in our big defender toughness deck. Guilty Mouse wants us to run the Bedrock Tortoise. No, Guilty Mouse, we haven't seen Bedrock Tortoise yet. Let's pull it up. Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. Mouse. Bedrock Tortoise came out in the Caverns of Ixalan, and he has a hat. He's a 4-mana 0/6, and as long as it's your turn, creatures you control have hexproof. We like that. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. You know what? This is great. It's a 4-mana 0/6. It's going to function like a 6-power creature in this deck, and it's going to give our creatures hexproof during our turn. And also, this man has a very beautiful hat, and we must put respect on that. Thank you, Guilty Mouse, for the suggestion. Also, he's 60 cents. We love that, too. We love budget cards here at BGM. Miri, Weather Light Duel. Oh my god. Alaskan Love. Miri is so good. Miri is so good. Miri, Weather Light Duelist, is a cat. It's a 3-drop. It came out in the cat precon alongside a Rabo, War of the World. This 3-drop 3/2 says first strike, and whenever it attacks, each opponent can't block with more than one creature this combat. So it attacks, and it says even if you're attacking with a bunch of things, your opponents can't block with more than one creature. That's kind of just like pseudo unblockable. And as long as Miri Weatherlight Duelist is tapped, no more than one creature can attack you each combat if able. Alright, no more than one creature can attack you each combat. Excuse me. I don't know why I put the if able on there. This thing's very cool. This thing can be game ending late game if your opponent already has a wide board that's like already outpaced yours. This thing is a game ending card. It's very cool. I like the way that it's kind of symmetric, that like if it's tapped, only one thing can attack you. But if you attack, only one thing can block your stuff, even though you got a bunch of them. It's cool. It's great. I wish it had a reprint though. I'm kind of glad this thing has stayed low cost. I'm pretty sure that Miri was only ever printed in that cat precon, and I'm glad she's only $6. No, Alaskan Love. I feel like it's kind of like a go wide, go Alpha Strike deck. Oh, we got a Kero Dreadmaw. Okay, Kero Dreadmaw, also from the Tarkir block, as a 4/4 for 5 mana. Defender, activated abilities, sacrifice another creature, gain life equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness. You know what? That's perfectly fine. It itself doesn't work super good in Felithar because it has a symmetric text box. It is a defender, so all our defender synergies are going to work on it. But the one thing I don't super duper love about it is the symmetric power toughness box. Because it means it's not good sacrifice fodder for Felithar. Snorlax used rest. Essence of Antiquity. Essence of you guys have such great usernames. Essence of Antiquity. Snorlax used rest, wants us to run Essence of Antiquity. It's a 5 mana golem. Came out in Murders of Karlov. It's a 1/10. It's an uncommon, and it's only 40 cents. It has Disguise, and I don't care about that, so I'm not even going to read it. But if it's turned face up, creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn, untap them. Okay, so actually, let's read Disguise. So we can put this thing face down with Ward 2 for 3 mana, and then we can turn it up for its mana cost of 5 to give things hexproof until end of turn, and we untap them. That's cool. Turn it face up anytime. So we can do it at instant speed. That's cool. The thing I'm excited about, though, 5 mana, 1/10, 8 mana, draw 9 cards. 8 mana, draw 9 cards. Pretty good. Thank you guys for the 600 likes. I appreciate it. All right, if we're going wide, may I suggest a Commissar Severina Rain? Commissar Severina Rain is an Orzhov legendary 3-drop that came out in the Warhammer 40k precons. It's great. It's a 3-drop. It's a 2/2. Whenever this thing attacks, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. And you can sacrifice another creature, you gain 2 life, and you draw a card. It's cool. It's like an Orzhov aristocrat attack trigger deck. I tried to build it at one time, and I much more enjoyed my aristocrat strategy, where they just kind of hang out instead of attack. She's cool though. I'm gonna keep saying her because I've been gendering them as female since I saw the card. Assault Formation over on Twitch, suggested by Dream Demon. Assault Formation. Yeah, we've seen Stone Skin early on in the live. Stone Skin is a cool little low drop aura that can give a creature like +0/+10. Let's talk about Assault Formation. Assault Formation, suggested by Dream Demon? Yeah, Dream Demon wants us to run this here. Assault Formation. Okay, this thing's pretty cool. This thing is a 4-drop, 1-drop, 2-drop, mono green enchantment. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Target creature with Defender can attack this turn as though it didn't have Defender, and creatures you control get +1/+0 until get +0/+1 until end of turn. So this thing was an auto include in one of like the OG thick boy, big toughness, make your defenders attack strategies in Doran. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Doran was like the first commander of this strategy, and Assault Formation was one of the only cards that can turn your defenders off so that they were able to attack. So Assault Formation was a must include in a Doran the Siege Tower deck. That's typically where I found it. The Nostalgia's Key. Female. Ina, female, understandable. You know what? Thank you. I appreciate it, the Nostalgia's Key. Smitty wants us to run the Perimeter Captain. Perimeter Captain. Perimeter Captain. Perimeter Captain is a 1-mana 0/4 defender. Whenever a creature you control with defender blocks, you may gain 2 life. We're probably not going to doing a whole lot of blocking in our Felithar deck because we want our defenders to attack. But this is a 1-mana 4/4 in a Felithar deck because it's going to attack with its toughness, or it's going to deal damage with its toughness in a Felithar deck. It's cool. It's also got that trigger that if we are ever on the back foot for some reason, we'll just be gaining a ton of life off attacks. I like this thing a lot. It's also really aggressively costed at 1 mana. The nostalgia is key. Thank you, Drew. Hey, Drew, I'm BGM or Bigger Gayer Magic. If you want to suggest any cards for our Felithar deck, please put them in the comments. If you see your suggestion over here, it'll be put into a Moxfield deck list where you can see all the other viewer suggestions. And if you want to see that deck list, it's on my link tree. I'm not sure if it's available on YouTube. I know it's on the link tree on TikTok. Frost Ace wants us to run the Blight Pile, though. Frost Ace, longtime friend of the channel, he gives us this Blight Pile. Frost Ace, this thing's got a symmetric text box. It's a 2-mana, mono, black, 35-cent defender with an activated ability. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of creatures with defender you control. I can get behind this all day. All day I can get behind this. We've seen quite a few like onesie twosie here pieces here. I think there's 3 or 4 in the deck list so far that can untap things. And if we can untap this thing a few times, it becomes a win con, and we ain't even got to attack with our thick boys. This thing's cool. It's 40 cents. It came out in Dominaria United, or at least was reprinted in Dominaria United. It's a Phyrexian, which can be a relevant creature type. Yeah, I don't mind this. This is great. I want to untap it and do it a bunch. Doran was like, when I think of this, of like Felithar's like wants and strategies, I think of Doran the Siege Tower too. Athreos, God of Passage. Athreos, God of Passage is a 3-mana legendary 5/4 god in Orzhov colors, and it is not a creature unless your devotion to Orzhov is 7 or more. And whenever another creature you control dies, return it to your hand unless an opponent pays 3. So this deck is just full of itty-bitty little 2-drops that enter the battlefield and function like 7/7s. And if they all die, we're gonna have a bad time. We haven't seen a whole lot of recursion. I don't think we've seen any mass recursion yet. I know the precon has Baitor in it, which we built yesterday, which does have recursion. But Athreos isn't quite recursion. It's more like insurance or damage. Because if a creature dies, you can pick somebody, and if they ain't going to pay 3 life, we get to put that creature back in our hand. And so many of our defenders are so low CMC that we're going to have no problem rebuilding from a board wipe in Felithar. Cool suggestion. Oh, we saw Shield Sphere earlier. Dark Side Cookie wants us to run a Catapult Fodder. Catapult Fodder is not a card I'm familiar with. Catapult Fodder is a 3-mana zombie 1/5, came out in Midnight Hunt. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that each have toughnesses greater than their power, transform the boy. Captain Catapult. Okay, Captain Catapult is a 2/6 zombie with an activated ability. Pay 3, sacrifice another creature, target opponent's life equal to the thing's tough. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, let's talk about it. Okay, I love it. This might be one of the more fun win cons we've seen so far. One, it's fun to say, it's fun to look at. You got a bunch of zombies loaded onto a catapult, and when you meet your requirement, you get to play with Captain Catapult. How fun is that? I'm having a good time just saying it. This thing, though, because we have so many creatures with big, thick booties, we got some relevant toughnesses that we can sacrifice to this thing, and we can probably kill someone outright. If we have a way to untap this thing, it can just be a win con. I like this thing. I like this thing a lot. Who suggested it? Catapult Captain. Who gave me this Catapult Captain? Oh, man, it got scrolled away. Alright, I need Catapult Captain in my life. Catapult Captain. Oh, man, I can't find it. Well, anyway, whoever put this in chat, you're a treat, and I appreciate you. Hey, a guy that exists. All right, a guy that exists. I will pull up a Tree of Perdition for, like, the 5th time just for you. If you guys like MTG content, please check out my new friend, A Guy That Exists. He shows you how to break the game. Tree of Perdition, though, it's like a 4-mana mono black tree plant creature. Tree of Perdition. Tree of Perdition, 4 mana, 0/13 defender. You can activate it, exchange target opponent's life total with this creature's toughness. It's cool. If we want to reduce someone's life total from 40 to 13 at instant speed, here's a Tree of Perdition. It's probably why it's $6. The new art that came out in the reprint of Innistrad Remastered is really cool. I like this hand. Very cool card. Thank you, A Guy That Exists. Flumph! 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 Our next suggestion is a Flumph. Flumph from the D&D set is a 0/4 flying defender for 2 mana. This thing's going to function like a 2-mana 4/4. That flies. Whenever Flumph is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Cool, so we got another little piece of card draw. And you know what's funny about this thing? This thing is meant to be a blocker, and it's meant to help you and someone else draw cards when it's hit. But in this, if we swing with Flumph, and it gets blocked, we're going to draw a card anyway. And that's pretty silly and goofy, and I like that for Felithar. Alright guys, we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. We're going to do 5 more cards tonight and then call it a night. One more time, I am Bigger, Gayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering content all over the internet. And if you want to suggest cards during live deck building, we only got 5 more for tonight. But if you see your card over here, you can see it in the Moxfield deck list. And if you want to see what other people have been suggesting for this commander coming out next month in the Abzan Precon, y'all can check out my Moxfield page. Or really, any like EDH Rec, any deck building site will help you find other stuff for this. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me and giving me suggestions. We got this here. Baldin Century Herdmaster is our number 5. It's a legendary white 6-drop, 0/7. Hey, we got a 0/7! As long as it's your turn, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness. And whenever this thing attacks, up to 100 target creatures get +0/+X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Okay, I like this, right? So this thing wants to attack, and we want to attack with it, because it's not a 0/7 for us, it's a 7/7 for us in a Felithar deck. That's great. It's also, potentially, depending on how big our hand is, and our hand's probably going to be pretty big based on that Felithar activation, it's going to make our creatures big and stompy and game-ending. This is a cool little high-end spell. Most of the creatures we've seen have been like 2 to 4 CMC. This thing's a 6-drop, and it feels like a game ender because of that Anthem effect on the attack trigger. Very cool suggestion. It's our number 5 of the night. And for number 4, we got Barry Jr. for a Fortified Rampart over on Twitch. Fortified Rampart over on Twitch. Fortified Rampart, 2 mana. Yeah, so like I was saying, we got a lot of 2 CMC things. We got another one right here. This is just a common 0/6 defender. I like the art. I can't really tell. Something's dead. I don't know what that creature is, but it's dead as hell. Alright, so this is a vanilla 0/6 common. It's still our number 4 pick of the night, but because it's a vanilla common, we're going to do 4 more still. Alright, Meekstone. Meekstone is our number 2 4 pick of the night. Okay, this art hurts my eyes. This art makes me uncomfortable. Alright, that's weird. It's a 1-mana artifact. Creatures of power 3 or greater don't untap during their control zones. Tap. Great, so we got a stacks piece. We have seen 2 other pieces in this deck list that do function a lot like this, that turn off attacking for big creatures on the board if they care about their power. Our creatures care about their toughness. We have a ton of 0 power creatures. This thing ain't gonna hurt us none. And for those reasons, I like it. I'm usually opposed to playing multiple pieces of stacks pieces, so I'd probably run 1 of the 3 pieces. This one definitely is the most aggressive and is the best among the ones we saw because it's 1 mana. The mana is colorless, so it's flexible, and it comes out earlier. And the other one, I believe, was a creature that gave something else. I think it was a creature that made things tap, and creatures are easier to kill than artifacts. And that's our number 4, number 2. Oh, right. All right, I'm seeing Castle. We're going to pull up Castle. Castle sounds like it's going to be an old card. Here it is, Castle. Castle is our number 3 pick of the night, suggested by Alaskan Love and also Dream Demon over on Twitch. It's a 4-mana enchantment. I don't know why I thought Castle was going to be a creature, but it's a 4-mana enchantment. Untapped creatures you control get +0/+2. I don't hate that. It's a 4-mana anthem. It's going to make... We have a ton of low CMC creatures. We are in a go wide, big butt, thick toughness strategy. This thing is going to make them all a little bit thicker. Let's check out the flavor text. Hang out our banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, they come, our castle's strength. We laugh at the siege us to scorn. Okay, you know what? That feels a little dated. That's our number 3, but our number 2 is from Zombie Kidney over on Twitch, who wants us to run the Dragon Lord Dramoka. May he rest in triumph. Dragon Lord Dramoka was the original Dragon Lord of the subjugated Abzan clans. He died in the Phyrexian invasion. Some will say that the Dragon Lord's dying is a good thing. I don't really care. I'm not emotionally attached to Magic story anymore. But anyway, Dragon Lord Jamoka is a legendary Silesian Elder Dragon. It's a 5/7, so we got that asymmetric text box we want. This thing has flying and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So here we have another stacks piece. Hangs out on the battlefield. Prevents our opponents from interacting with our spells during our turns with their spells. Another piece of stacks. I don't mind it. It is a relevant but, though. So that's cool. That's our number 2. And our last pick of the night is going to be from the Nostalgia is Key. Okay, well, you know, Nostalgia is Key. You were going to be the last pick. Please don't take it personally. But we just saw this card like 20 minutes ago. But for hanging out with me, we're going to pull it up again. It's the Black Oak of Adonis. And I really thought this sounded like a Lord of the Rings card when we saw it earlier. But the Black Oak of Adonis is actually a zombie tree folk. It's a 0/5. It's a defender. You can pay a black mana, tap another untapped creature you control. This thing gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's cool. It's a little 3-mana 0/5. It's got an activated ability that can help us tap things. And it can make things big. It can make itself big. Which is cool. Yeah. Alright. But because we saw it, it's not going to be our last card of the night. Thank you, Thalern, for the tiny dinosaurs. I don't think I've ever received tiny dinosaurs on TikTok before. Thank you. Alright. Cat for Life. You got our number 1 with Raznod. Rasad, not Raznod, Rasad. I think Rasad's a D&D card. Yeah, Rasad is a D&D card. Let's talk about Rasad. Rasad Bashir is a 3-mana 0/3 human monk that came out in the Baldur's Gate expansion. This thing says that each creature you control assigns combat damage with its toughness. Hell yeah, that's what we're doing today with Felithar. When Rasad attacks, if you have the initiative, double the toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. You can also choose a background if you want to run Rasad as your commander. Rasad's cool. It does care about toughnesses. It does need the initiative if we really want to double up our toughness. In a Felithar deck, it's the attack power that's actually going to get doubled, which is pretty cool. Rasad's a cool include, but we do need something to facilitate that initiative. Alright guys, that is going to be our last suggestion of the night. For the last time tonight, I'm BGM or Bigger, Gayer Magic. And on live deck building, we talk about whatever cards you want to put in the comments. If you see your card commented over here, it'll be in a Moxfield deck list, and y'all can check out my link tree if you want to see what other people have suggested for Felithar. Thanks for hanging out with me. We do live deck building usually on Monday and Tuesday. And if you want to play with a bunch of gay nerds, Spell Table, which is paper magic over webcam, you can join my Bigger Gayer Discord server. I hope you guys all draw the appropriate amount of lands during your next game, and take care for now.